ABC Central Coast, and Stephen Whittaker has had a go at the federal seat and is now going to have a crack at the state seat, but was going to have a go at his local state seat under the Palmer United Party banner. But Stephen has decided to give the banner away because he's disillusioned with what's happening within PUP, and joins us on the line. Good to have you with us, Stephen.
Hi, how are you going?
You've decided to sever ties with the Palmer United Party. What is different now compared to before the federal election?
Well, I think first and foremost is the direction of the Palmer United Party is not what was originally anticipated, not as promised. The core values of the party seem to nationally gone out the window. The views of other PUP ex-candidates and members from since the 2013 federal were that the party was definitely heading in a different direction. Of course, Clive, as you know, now has the balance of power in the Senate, and has been very outspoken on a number of issues with other senators that are not commensurate with the original thoughts and ideas of the people that stood on his behalf. I think that's probably the biggest issue. Things have changed.
Is he running too many personal agendas? His attack on the Chinese business partners, which has been rather vitriolic and obviously personally motivated. The statements about Campbell Newman and the rest of it, which seems also to be a bit of a vendetta. Are those sorts of things that are disillusioning you?
They are, among many issues. I think Queensland issues with Campbell Newman, with the few of us that have got together and resigned from the party en masse, we feel that there is a personal vendetta with Campbell Newman in Queensland. That seems to be high on Clive's agenda. Not much emphasis has been placed on Victoria, who incidentally have an election in a few weeks. They've been very, very let down. A lot of people have done a lot of hard work under the banner of Palmer United Party and been basically let down. In Queensland, there is a lot more support, although I understand there's a lot of family members involved in standing for seats on that seaboard. We in New South Wales are very, very close bunch of guys and girls, and we didn't want to sit back for 6 months and keep getting the message from Clive that, well, we'll see what happens. Because we've seen what's happened in Victoria now, and a lot of people have been let down, and we're not about to sit down and lose our momentum as all locals in our areas, and we all are polling very, very well under the PUP banner, but we decided that there is definitely something there. There is a hidden agenda there somewhere that is not... It's hard to put in words. Clive's interests in Victoria and New South Wales aren't as high as what they are in Queensland. Is probably the best way of putting it.
What was it initially that drew you to this new party before the last federal election, and what was the brief then? I mean, what was the ideology then?
Well, we were contacted out of our interest. I mean, we all had an expression of interest in the party. We wanted to see change from the two-party policy at federal level. And change was made. I mean, don't get me wrong. Some wonderful things came out of that, and I think for the benefit of Australian politics at a federal level in general. And that's why, I would say all the candidates, it was 151 lower house candidates and I think 12 upper house candidates nationwide got involved for change. We needed to make change, and we have made change. It's no longer a two-party system at federal level. It's definitely heading towards a three-party system. But as I said, the initial promises, the initial core policies have not been adhered to, and this is broken down at state level. We've had a number of meetings here in New South Wales regarding what's actually happened at federal level, and everyone's in agreement that that's not the direction that we wanted to take as party. And as such, of course, missing our registration for New South Wales state we have to stand as independents anyway. So, I mean, where's the loss? We'll stand under our own initial reasons, and we'll stand together as a group.
So what's the story there, Stephen? What happened with the registration?
Without going into too much detail, we had to, under New South Wales, some of the most stringent registration criteria in the country, and we actually failed registration. We had to not only prove that we had 750 members, which we easily surpassed. I think we had about 4,800 members in New South Wales signed to the Palmer United Party, and basically we had to get signed affidavits and declarations by 750 members forwarded to the AEC for New South Wales registration. This was actually done, but was never completed. So I won't make any further comment on that, but it was certainly something that left a few people scratching their heads, to say the least.
Well, surely the federal politicians and those already elected have the resources to run the party in a proper manner. Have they dropped the ball?
I think they have. I think they've got their agenda sorted. They've got their own path. Basically, as I said before, there's nothing for the Palmer United Party in Victoria or New South Wales, and I'm loath to say that, really. We've got a by-election in the Newcastle and Charlestown seats approaching very closely, and I wish them well. In fact, young lady Sue Ellen Wrightson, running for the seat of Charlestown, she's going to do very well. She's a councillor, I believe, at Cessnock, and she's got a really good rapport with the local people there. It all comes down to local people. Mm-hmm. They're sick and tired of the Lib Lab policies. They're sick and tired of the Lib Lab lies, etc. And I think she'll do very well there.
Who else is leaving? I believe a couple of prominent Queensland MPs are calling it quits.
Well, down here in New South Wales, for a start, we had a bit of a chat last week, and a very tiring weekend of lots of back and forth emails and things. The person I've actually appointed as my executive, Mr. Chris Attlee, who actually stood for the federal seat of Cunningham, he decided as well to pull out of the Palmer United Party. Bradley Pastors stood very successfully, but not successfully enough, for the seat of Liverpool in New South Wales here, plus a few more, which I won't detail. Up in Queensland, I think it's been highly documented and reported about Dr. Alex Douglas, who is an MP, and Carl Judge, who replaced Dr. Alex Douglas as the leader of the Queensland branch of the Palmer United Party, who have recently both resigned, and they will also be standing in their upcoming elections in Queensland for re-election. Ironic, on the weekend I saw that, just before the weekend, I saw that Clive Palmer has actually put up his wife Anna Palmer for pre-selection to run against Dr. Alex Douglas in the seat of Gavin. This is the kind of mentality behind the party that we really tipped us over the edge, so to speak. We had a really good discussion about that one, and we thought that that's not commensurate with party policy. So with all the other family members and business contacts that he's got in Queensland, I mean, that's an issue for the Queensland people, but it's not commensurate with our initial party requirements and the agreements that we had in place. Even the by-elections in Newcastle were not pre-selected; they were handpicked by Clive, and that's not how we do things. We're purely a democratic bunch of people standing up. We're just average people standing up for what we want in our community. We don't want someone picking who's going to do and say what for their own basic hidden agenda. End of story.
Jackie Lambie's behaviour, has that had any influence on your decision?
Yeah, I think it has, actually. Me personally, I don't think. I think Jackie's a wonderful person. I mean, she's 20 years in the ADF, and she's done it tough, and she's good for Tasmania. Obviously, she's standing up for what Tasmanians want. I hope she is, because that's why she's there. But I think just in general, some of the antics, not only with Jackie, but with Clive and Dio going missing, and all the media surrounding Palmer United Party has been bordering on satirical. It's almost laughable, and we don't need that kind of reputation. I mean, we've all got reputations as to uphold.
Were you duped, Stephen? I mean, many were wary of Palmer's motives when he first entered the political arena. Why?
I didn't think I was. I mean, I was asked originally to stand for the seat of Dobell, living there at the time. I'm in Kincumber now, but living up in Wodalba at the time, and I got a phone call. I was looking forward to running against Craig Thompson. And as one of the local magistrates told me, he said, look, mate, you can run Mr. Squiggle against Craig Thompson. You're still going to win. And I was actually really looking forward to it. But I got a phone call from one of Clive's people who said, look, we want you to run for Robertson because we want to run a young lady in Dobell up against Craig Thompson. So that came as a bit of a shock to me. I was all ready to sort of put the boot into Wyong. And ended up in Gosford and ran against some lovely people. I got to meet the lovely Deb O'Neill, who's now, of course, a senator, and Lucy Wicks, who's now our local MP, the seat of Robertson, and a few other colourful characters. Laurie McKenna used to be involved with the football, of course, locally, and Nathan Bracken up there, supported by John Singleton. So, it was a big learning curve, but as far as being duped, initially, I didn't think so, and as I come back to what I said before, initially we had a bunch of core values, policies and standards to which we would adhere to as a group, and that's, I think there's a certain amount of betrayal and a certain amount of, not so much embarrassment, but a certain amount of, shall we say, second thinking. On reflection, yes, I think, and a lot of other candidates think they were duped into believing that we could make change. I honestly think we could have made change, but the path has changed. The leader has spoken, and that's the way it is.
They're calling the upcoming election an Independence Fest. How do you rate your chances?
I've looked at some of the independent polls around the area. I'll be putting my hand up for the seat of Terrigal, which, as you know, has a pretty colourful background, not only from the Liberal government, but from the Labor government, where back in the Labor days were the Terrigal Terribles. Of course, we've got Eddie O'Deed and Ian McDonald.
That's right,
and
they met there, yeah.
They've met their fate. And now, of course, with Chris Archer and Mr. Spence and Mr. Webber and, to a degree, a bunch of other people under the Liberal banner that are now sitting on the backbench. And well, some of them aren't even sitting on the bench
on the crossbench.
On the crossbench, on the crossbench, and some of them aren't even sitting at all.
Do you think your association with PUP could affect your vote? Or?
No, absolutely not. I'm in the electorate. I live in Kincumber. I've spoken to a lot of people down here. I'm very excited by the prospect, to be honest. People are absolutely sick and tired of deceit and lies. They want to see the two big ones gone. There's no doubt about that. Of course, we're talking of March 14 next year, and that's a long way away. But I think this latest Independent Commission Against Corruption, when the results are finally released to the public and to the media, I think it will quickly refresh people's minds. I think that's due for release end of January, beginning February. That'll quickly remind people of what we've had. As an independent, I'll be obviously listening to the people, something that hasn't been done for a long time. I'll be talking to the people, another thing that hasn't been done for a long time, and I'll be reporting to those people. This is what's missing in politics. There's too many hidden agendas. There's too many backhanders. There's too much of the wrong things going on. Unfortunately, they're all on the Central Coast. I think it will be an independent fest, New South Wales wide. The current state government is just absolutely falling apart.
Stephen Whittaker, thanks so much for joining us on the program.
And thanks for the opportunity.
Stephen Whittaker there from Kincumber is going to have a go at the seat of Terrigal at the upcoming state election, but as an independent, he stood for the Palmer United Party in Robertson after the party asked him to step aside in Dobell and have a go at Robertson, so interesting there. Anyway, looks like the Palmer United Party in New South Wales has fallen in a heap. It's coming up to 2 o'clock.
Scott Levi, here on 92.5 ABC Central Coast.